Welcome to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're truly grateful for your support and for your interest in the global issues that shape our world. In this video, we're tackling one of the most critical challenges our planet is facing, the biodiversity crisis. This topic is not just an environmental concern, but one that directly impacts our daily lives. The loss of biodiversity threatens everything from the food we eat to the air we breathe. It affects our economies, our health, and the stability of the ecosystems we rely on. In today's video, we'll explore the current state of the biodiversity crisis, its causes, its consequences, and the efforts being made to address it. We'll look at the latest research and data that show just how severe this crisis has become and what we can do about it. If you're new here, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our future content, which will continue to address important global issues and explore potential solutions. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Biodiversity, simply put, refers to the variety of life forms that exist on Earth. It encompasses the diversity of species, ecosystems, and the genetic variations within those species. Biodiversity is the backbone of a healthy planet. It is the foundation upon which life as we know it depends. Every ecosystem on Earth, whether it's a forest, a coral reef, or a grassland, relies on a vast web of interdependent species. From the smallest insects to the largest mammals, each organism plays a role in maintaining the balance of nature. But, unfortunately, the world is undergoing a dramatic loss of biodiversity at an unprecedented rate. This loss is not just about individual species going extinct, it's about the degradation of entire ecosystems that provide the essential services upon which we all rely. The current state of biodiversity is dire. According to the WWF's Living Planet Report 2022, populations of wildlife around the globe have declined by 69% since 1970. This staggering decline is primarily attributed to human activities such as deforestation, agriculture, and urbanization. The International Union for Conservation of Nature (IUCN Red List), which tracks the conservation status of species, currently lists over 37,400 species as being threatened with extinction. Some of the most iconic species, such as tigers, elephants, and rhinos, face the very real possibility of extinction in the wild. Marine life, too, is facing severe challenges. Coral reefs, which house a quarter of all marine species, are being destroyed at an alarming rate due to warming ocean temperatures, overfishing, and pollution. In fact, nearly one-third of coral species are now listed as at risk of extinction. One of the major drivers of biodiversity loss is habitat destruction. Every year, an estimated 12 million hectares of forests are lost, primarily due to logging, agriculture, and urban development. Deforestation in the Amazon rainforest, often referred to as the lungs of the earth, has increased by 22% in 2023 compared to the previous year, putting a wide range of species at risk. Forests are vital not only for the species that live within them, but also for their role in regulating the climate and providing clean air and water. Wetlands, too, are being drained and destroyed to make way for agriculture and infrastructure. These critical ecosystems help filter water, control floods, and store carbon, but as they disappear, we lose all of these benefits. Climate change is another significant factor exacerbating the biodiversity crisis. The rising global temperatures, changes in precipitation patterns, and extreme weather events are forcing species to either adapt, migrate, or face extinction. Species that are already vulnerable, such as polar bears and coral reefs, are particularly at risk. Warming ocean temperatures are causing coral bleaching, a phenomenon where corals expel the algae that live within them, turning them white and leaving them vulnerable to disease. This not only threatens marine biodiversity but also affects millions of people who rely on healthy coral reefs for food, income, and coastal protection. On land, shifting weather patterns and changing seasons are disrupting the natural migration, breeding, and feeding habits of many species. For example, species like the monarch butterfly are finding it more difficult to follow their traditional migration routes due to changing temperatures and habitat loss. Pollution, especially plastic pollution, is another major contributor to the biodiversity crisis. Every year, around 8 million tons of plastic waste enter the oceans, where it harms marine life. Sea turtles, whales, and seabirds often mistake plastic for food, leading to injuries and death. On land, chemical pollution from pesticides, fertilizers, and industrial waste is poisoning ecosystems and species. Chemicals like DDT and neonicotinoid pesticides have been linked to the decline of pollinators, including bees and butterflies, which are essential for pollinating a significant portion of the crops we rely on for food. In addition to the direct harm to species, pollution also disrupts the delicate balance of ecosystems, causing cascading effects that ripple through the food chain. Overfishing and overhunting also play a significant role in the loss of biodiversity. The overexploitation of fish stocks has led to the collapse of entire marine ecosystems, and around 70% of global fish stocks are now either fully exploited or overfished. Overfishing depletes the population of fish and other marine species, disrupting food webs and affecting the livelihoods of millions of people who depend on fishing for food and income. On land, overhunting and the illegal wildlife trade have pushed many species to the brink of extinction. Elephants, rhinos, and tigers are often targeted for their ivory, horns, and pelts, leading to a dramatic decrease in their numbers. The Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, CITES, works to regulate and monitor the trade of endangered species, but illegal poaching continues to be a major threat to wildlife. Invasive species are another major cause of biodiversity loss. These non-native species often outcompete, prey upon, or introduce diseases to native species, disrupting ecosystems and leading to the decline of indigenous flora and fauna. For example, the introduction of Asian carp to the Great Lakes has caused significant damage to native fish populations. Similarly, the spread of zebra mussels has disrupted freshwater ecosystems across North America. Invasive species are responsible for 60% of extinctions on islands where native species are especially vulnerable to competition. The consequences of biodiversity loss are profound and far reaching. Ecosystem services, such as pollination, water purification, and climate regulation, are all at risk as biodiversity declines. This threatens not only wildlife, but human populations as well. For example, the decline of pollinators like bees could lead to a catastrophic collapse in global food production, as these insects are essential for pollinating many of the crops we rely on. The loss of forests and wetlands would reduce the Earth's ability to absorb carbon dioxide, exacerbating climate change and leading to more extreme weather events, floods, and droughts. In addition, the economic cost of biodiversity loss is staggering. Industries that depend on natural resources, such as agriculture, fishing, and tourism, are already feeling the impacts. Coastal communities dependent on coral reefs for tourism and fishing are seeing their livelihoods disappear as reefs are bleached and destroyed. The health impacts are also significant, as biodiversity loss increases the risk of disease transmission, particularly in tropical areas where deforestation and habitat destruction have brought humans and wildlife into closer contact. Addressing the biodiversity crisis requires urgent and coordinated action. International agreements such as the Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, provide a framework for global conservation efforts. The post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, which was adopted at the 15th Conference of the Parties to the CBD in 2020, includes ambitious targets to halt biodiversity loss by 2030, including protecting 30% of the Earth's land and marine areas. The Paris Agreement on Climate Change also has implications for biodiversity, as reducing greenhouse gas emissions can help mitigate the impacts of climate change on ecosystems and species. National governments, regional organizations, and local communities must all work together to implement policies that promote the sustainable use of natural resources, protect critical habitats, and restore damaged ecosystems. Protected areas such as national parks, wildlife reserves, and marine sanctuaries play a vital role in conserving biodiversity. Currently, around 17% of the Earth's terrestrial areas and 10% of marine areas are designated as protected but much more needs to be done to safeguard critical habitats, particularly in biodiversity hotspots. The establishment of wildlife corridors can also help connect fragmented habitats and allow species to migrate freely. In addition to conservation efforts, restoring ecosystems through reforestation, wetland restoration, and other initiatives can help reverse some of the damage caused by human activities. Promoting sustainable agriculture, sustainable forestry, and sustainable fisheries is essential to reducing human impact on the environment. Certification programs like the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil (RSPO) and the Marine Stewardship Council (MSC) promote environmentally responsible practices that can help protect biodiversity. Sustainable practices not only benefit the environment but also provide long-term economic opportunities for communities that rely on natural resources for their livelihoods. The Great Green Wall Initiative in Africa is an example of a large-scale restoration project aimed at combating desertification and restoring ecosystems across the Sahel region. The goal is to restore 100 million hectares of land by 2030, improving food security, livelihoods, and biodiversity in one of the most vulnerable regions in the world. The biodiversity crisis is one of the most urgent challenges facing humanity today. Its consequences are far-reaching and threaten not only the natural world but also human societies and economies. However, by understanding the causes of biodiversity loss and taking immediate, coordinated action, we can begin to reverse the damage and safeguard the future of our planet. Thank you once again for watching this video. If you found this information useful, please remember to like, subscribe, and share it with others who may find it helpful. Let's work together to raise awareness and make a difference for our planet's future.